This is where sports meets culture, confidence, and the conversation. Welcome to the Sports Girlie Podcast, the space where we break down the game beyond the scoreboard. Hosted by sports media multi-hyphenate Janae Robinson. That's me. And this is where athletes, creators, professionals, and fans come to talk identity, ambition, and what it really means to own your game. From the Caribbean to the world, this is the Sports Girlie Podcast. After episode 3, I saw the comments, the DMs, the side conversations. I heard some of them, and one thing kept coming up. Why are women so hard on other women? So today, we're having the conversation we usually avoid. Woman versus woman. Not to point fingers, not to shame, but to understand what's really happening. And today, I'm going to break down about 7 points. Yeah, 7 points. So you can stick around to listen to some of these things because as a young professional in the space, I think that as much as we would have spoken about men versus women, we have to also address the elephant in the room. So sometimes it's not always men. Oppression exists, yes, but sometimes women hurt each other too. And we need to talk about that without the defensiveness. Now, when I came into this space, I think I had mentioned it in the 3rd episode, I would have had a lot more support from the men. And the competition or the rivalry was healthy rivalry. It wasn't in like a very, what you'd call it, with any animosity behind it. It was really it's like iron sharpens iron, put it like that. And then as you grow in the space, you recognize that it's one or two things you have to do. You're either going to be an anomaly because there aren't a lot of other women, or you're going to be compared. And it was a hard truth for me to realize or accept. And that's mainly because I personally don't really care about the unnecessary drama. So I don't really ever want to have an issue with people in sport. Here's why. I don't think sports is this space for women to compete against each other like that. We're not. If we're not on the track, if we're not playing football, no. Because our influence is so big and holds so much value in different rooms that we don't have the time to be focusing on what I consider a lot of nothing, right? So some of this oppression can be shown towards confident women, visible women, women that are different, or some of them that are soft yet very strong, or all of them in one, because you have people who hold different, more than one of those categories, right? So that's how oppression can hit through those women. It can also show up through tone policing. So either she's too loud, she's too much, right? She's doing a little bit too much. Too much is relative to what you can manage. Because there are people that can manage too much. There are also people that can manage only too little. And I think that as women in this space, that's something that we also need to accept. Like, if somebody's doing too much, let them do too much, right? Because one or two things going to happen. That's either going to be their brand or they're going to stop because it may be hard to maintain. Also, respectability politics. So you have people that will be like, oh, she should act more professional or she should... Foolishness. And here's my take on it, women. And girlies out there, you guys can DM me, you guys can leave in the comments. Here's what I think. Respectability politics is rubbish because if you want to, or if you have the best interest for other women in mind, then you're just going to tell them. I'm so sorry to break it to you. We overcomplicate a lot of things. So if somebody should act more professional, Allow them to act unprofessional if you can't control it in that moment, and then go and correct them, because that's how we not only build up each other, but we build up ourselves, because we're able to understand that there are beautiful qualities inside of us, and we don't need to be so prideful with everything that we know. If you know better, why wouldn't you want to share it with somebody else so that somebody else could be better, right? And questioning credibility instead of skill, right? So some of these things can show up. People may have years of experience. The other day, I learned that a girl I know just got a new position. And a lot of people wouldn't have known that she would have been training for the position for so long that even if, for her, it's a huge deal. Even if you look at it like it's a small deal, she's been working so much for it, you can't tell her that she don't understand, because that's the reason why the job chose her, right? So two things can be true. Men create many of these systems, but women sometimes help enforce them, and they also enforce them on one another, right? So that's the first point. Now we're going to move on to the scarcity mindset, that there's only room for one of us. Now, anybody that knows the sports girly movement, it was meant to, well, one of the reasons that I created it was to break this stigma that there's only room for one of us, because working together creates a beautiful impact. Let us close our eyes for a second and just imagine if I am strong in speaking, and Jane is strong in writing, and Gail is strong in editing, probably we can create a movie. Probably, and it's not that anybody is going to be competing with anybody else's skill. Everybody is able to shine equally and can create a masterpiece, right? Or just think of it within the context of your life, right? I just think that we were taught that success for women is limited. And I think that's absolute rubbish. They'll sometimes say that only one chosen woman can win at a time. And I think nowadays, yes, in the space we have tried to break those stereotypes. So I say in track and field, they'll have like the athlete meet, which is just all female, love it, right? That's just women just shining, being able to show their character, being able to showcase themselves. And there's a lot of women just having fun together. You have examples like the Sports Girlie Tour, where you have different ambassadors in different disciplines that are excellent in their different disciplines and can shine with one another. Let's use another example. You'll have the sports media space. When I was at Sports Max, I wasn't the only female host, but I also didn't do what the other female hosts did, right? So we were also allowed to shine in our own respects. It's not that it's one cap is for one person, rubbish, right? So sometimes, I just looked at my notes, and this is one I also want to talk about, that there's only one pretty girl. You see, and I don't know which girl out there I'm relating to, but you see, once you're confident with yourself, you look in the mirror, you're pleased, you can walk out the door knowing you're making your parents proud, yourself proud, the Lord proud. That stigma does not matter. Because I don't know about you guys, but me know say me, Janae Robinson, I'm a beautiful girl. And I love when I can be around a lot of other beautiful women, right? So you need to think that you're a pretty girl and just know that, yeah, things, as my friend would say, yeah, things. So, yeah. And why it causes tension between the woman in the space is because another woman's success can feel threatening, right? Comparison becomes automatic, and support for one another will feel very, very risky. The moment I realized that women not everybody thinks like me, and women will be threatened by your, or other women in the space will be threatened by your authenticity, is the moment when I realized that I have a choice. I'm either going to let it bother me, or I'm going to just keep doing what I'm doing. because you can't change people. So when you believe that there's only one seat at the table, that is when women start to feel like it's a competition. When you start to actually take up a chair and put it at the table and offer them a seat, you recognize that the space was always there for them and the space was always there for you. Now, moving on to the third point, internalized misogyny. Internalized misogyny is when we judge women by standards we didn't create, right? And then turn those same standards on each other. So this can come up through judging how other women look, critiquing outfits more than performance, calling women unlikable for their confidence, or just expecting perfection from the woman, but giving grace to the men. Now, this is something that I think I would have experienced and what it can subconsciously do, whereas I do think that putting yourself together is important and blah, 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 and, it can subconsciously make you feel like you need to always prove your expertise constantly because you're like, I can't drop. Like for me, because I would have worked on the TV, I would have just been exposed to people I don't know. Like, as simple as that, like, I just don't know you from a tin of paint. So it would make you feel like I need to give my best shot every time I go out there. I can't behave as if I'm new to this. And if I mess up, you don't have time to correct it. You need to make sure that the rest of your work, you don't mess up. Like, it will make you start to think about that. It will also make you think that appearance being part of, this is how I should say it. It will make you feel like if your appearance is in tip-top shape, it won't give you the credibility that you need. Now, you guys know I have an opinion, or should know I have an opinion on this. I do believe that your appearance and your branding is very important. I do believe that you walk into rooms before sometimes you walk into rooms. So, whereas I understand this point and how it may tie into people that work in media or people that work in sports because you want to present yourself properly, or even just professionals that work in sports, so doctors, lawyers, whatever the case may be, you see when you start to kind of idolize the appearance, that's the issue I have. But I do believe that you have to put yourself together, be and put on your nice clean clothes. For translation, I just believe that you should put yourself together, take a nice shower, and put on your clothes, right? And also, this internalized misogyny can also result in people thinking that you're too soft or you're too aggressive. And sometimes it can just ultimately end up with you thinking that you're never really just right? The truth is, we didn't invent these rules, but we learned them very well. And the only way, ladies out there, and guys, because you guys also can help to hold us accountable if you're listening, the only way that we can remove these stigmas is if we literally just act like they didn't exist. Because we didn't invent the rules, right? We just learned that these things were okay. You don't need to be talking down on anybody's body. You don't need to be, like, if you want to give them some advice, if you know them, call their phone and tell them. But 2026, we don't have time for that. Moving on to our fourth point, projection. I know some of you guys are going to love to hear about this point because projection is a real thing. You see, I'm going to explain it in some real terms. Projection in this context is when it's not about you. When it's not about you at all. So, seeing someone do what you were scared to try, and then now you're like, oh, she should have done this. Oh, she should have done that. Like, shut up. Shut up, right? Because that's really projection. Because as I would have said earlier, all we really need to do It's probably offer a word of advice. And if you don't know the person, then you link somebody that the person know, right? Another form of projection can be watching someone be confident where you feel insecure. Now, I guarantee you, the people that you think are confident or who are confident did not just rise up out of their bed and just become confident. Confidence, from what I have experienced in my life, comes from working on the insecurities that you have identified. So that is my blueprint as to working on confidence. You see, if you have an insecurity with, let me use an example with myself. I don't care about it anymore. But when I was younger, I used to think my forehead was big. My forehead is beautiful, right? But part of getting over that insecurity was, one, acknowledging that, okay, it's big, but so what? It doesn't change anything about me. There are people that love the big forehead, right? Just for example's sake. But the truth is that if you acknowledge your insecurities and then you get up every day with the intention to work on it, I guarantee you'll be the most confident person that you will look at in the mirror, because you will know that you put in the hard work to get over these things, and you won't have the time to compare yourself to anybody. And another form of projection is feeling triggered without knowing why. And this is why I'm a strong believer in community, because you say when you have community, you're able to bounce these ideas off. And I hope it's a healthy community. And you should also be aware enough that you're not easily swayed, right? And you can know what is right from wrong, because not all advice is good advice. Let's just get that out there. So you can go to your friends and ask them, but you should have enough common sense to know that, okay, this makes sense, that don't make sense, whatever the case may be. So sometimes we're not really mad at the person. We're just grieving the version of ourselves that we didn't allow to exist. And you see, once you've acknowledged that, you still have time to be the person that you want to be. How we allow these things to manifest into reality and start to be attacking each other as women is that we start nitpicking everything that someone does. So them wear shoes. Why should I wear that? They say something. Why should I say like that? We just find a problem with everything. We have very dismissive comments, right? And most importantly, and I see this happen all the time, we downplay people's achievements. We need to stop doing that, because people, you don't know how much hours, and I can talk from personal experience, is when you actually invest time and then you have somebody and it's so easy to say anything. Words are so easy, right? Somebody just talk about it like it's nothing. Can you guys imagine? I'm going to give you an example. Can you guys imagine being on TV? And the first thing my mentor had taught me in our class was to never read the comments. But sometimes you have to read the comments. You need a little criticism for just grow, And somebody will tell me, oh, she need to figure out and you guys can imagine that my shots are literal shots at me, right? She never ready for this. And I was just down on myself. I was like, why would somebody go out of their way to do this, right? But the truth is there are mean people, so just got to get over that fact. And then you also have to know your worth, right? Sometimes modeling the woman that you want to be can subconsciously teach other people to be better as well. Doesn't mean that it's okay, but I'm just a strong believer that you don't downplay people's achievements. You don't know where they're coming from. You don't understand their stories. And projection is something that I think us as women do sometimes without even realizing. The fifth point, how woman versus woman plays out in real life. Now, we're going to talk about things that I think you guys want to hear. So the subtle shade versus the direct hit. I'm just going to get right into the meat of the matter. I'm so sorry. That is not okay, right? The group chats, the public comments, the talking, whispering one away, the silence when the support is needed, or the support in front of your face and the bashing behind your back. Women can be scary sometimes. And guys, we will critique each other more hardly than we'll talk about the men. And I'm not saying that we should beat down on the men, but I'm just saying, like, we should come off each other's necks sometimes. Because what are we competing for? If we are competing against each other, do you recognize that the males, well, first things first, they don't ever have time for bickering because it can almost look like a cat fight, right? So they'll just start climbing the ladder. We don't have time to compete for validation in male-dominated spaces. We need to dominate, right? We need to stop being afraid to uplift because people are going to compare each other. Let me tell you something. I'm going to give you guys an example. If you know me personally, you know my sister. My sister and I, if you look at the two of us, you know, say we are sister. There's no going around it. You see, when people back in the day used to compare us, I don't know if they thought it was flattering, but we used to hate it. Here's why. Because my sister, as much as we have similarities, we are very good in our respective fields. Comparing ain't helping us. Like, no. And it will almost subconsciously make you want to fester competing emotionally, even if you aren't doing it publicly. And that battle is harder sometimes than doing it publicly. The point is, guys, we don't have time to be doing that. We don't have time to be doing that. We need to uplift each other. And when people start to see us for who we are, they recognize that, wow, they're very beautiful in their own right, which is what we were doing from day one. But you get what I'm saying? Like, people just not have time for that. Them think they just, like, those things are stale. Sorry for my Creole. It just came out a little bit, guys. Now, this is where you hold space. So we've all done it. And this isn't about guilt. It's about awareness and choice. Accountability, this is my 6th point, doesn't mean punishment. It means growth. Catching yourself before you comment, asking, why does this bother me? And choosing curiosity over criticism. I'm telling you guys, like, you may be hearing me speak a little bit slow, but I just want you guys to get it. You see, when you clock your tea, right? Before anybody else clocks your tea, I guarantee you're going to turn out into the most beautiful woman. Because the best thing for you, and when you tell yourself, catch it, fix it, translation, when you catch yourself in the midst of it all, right? You clock your tea, and then you fix what you need to fix before anybody else has to say that. That is a real flex. Accountability without shame. It doesn't mean punishment. I'm going to repeat it. It means growth. And as your fellow sports girlie, just imagine me patting you on your back. If you can think of right now things that you can clock your tea about, like, let's write down 3 things in our notes or on a piece of paper. Put it up on our mirror. Have it in our phone. And every day, we're going to look at it and we're going to be like, I'm going to fix these things. I'm going to fix these things. Or even just start doing things in your life to fix those habits. And I guarantee you, at the end of it all, you're going to be very proud of yourself for fixing the things before other people would have even noticed. And if you don't know, this is why, and I repeat it again, this is why community is important. Because your community allows you to know when your iron sharpens iron. Us as women, we can sharpen each other's iron. We'll be so surprised of the qualities that we both have. Now, I'm going to end with my 7th point by being very practical and real with you guys. This is what supporting other women actually looks like. So after you guys got all those points and whatever really resonated with you, this is what it looks like. Support can be not joining pile-ons, not joining the conversation. Sometimes you don't need to join the conversation. You can listen and walk away. That's not for you, right? Giving credit where it's due. You see, when you give credit to somebody where it is due, one, you uplift another female, so that's your act of kindness, and you recognize how much more of a beautiful person you become just because of it. Correcting privately and not publicly. There's no need to shame. You don't know people like to be seen. Like, if you know them well enough, call their phone, text them, send them a DM, and tell them what you need to tell them, right? Because I guarantee you they'll appreciate it and probably take your criticism when you do it that way than when you do it publicly. Just saying. Support can also be shown through letting women evolve without dragging down their past. No. This is a concept that I can admit would have been hard to let people understand, because the truth is all of us have a past. We're actively creating our past. And sometimes people aren't where you leave them. Sometimes they're not just sitting. They're not just sitting and just not doing anything. They're working on themselves. They're trying to evolve, right? And this is where grace comes into the conversation, because we should be giving people grace. Now, you see, if you give them the grace and then they prove you're wrong, then I understand a little bit. But like, don't just quick for just tear them down to the ground. You get me? Because that's not okay. And sometimes the truth is we can just say, or support can be shown through saying that this isn't for me, right? Instead of she's doing too much. Probably you're just not the target market. Probably there are people out there that love the sports girly, and there are probably people out there that hate the sports girly, right? And that's just the truth. So if it's not for you, then kindly pass. Kindly pass. We're not getting a prize at the end of this. So don't, instead of tearing down someone, just kindly pass. Now, I want to leave you guys with this reminder that support is not blind loyalty and respect is not equal to friendship. So not because somebody respects you means that they think that you guys are best friends. They just respect your work and they want you to see you do well. That also sometimes does not set your expectations too high, nor theirs, right? And we as women should just be, as I said, in point 6, I think, or 5, accountability. Know where we stand. Clock our own tea before other people clock it. So you don't have to love every woman, but you shouldn't be the reason another woman shrinks. And that's really what I want to leave you guys with as it relates to my points, because I just wanted to understand that you're probably not everybody's cup of tea. Like, that's okay. That's definitely okay. But don't, whilst not being everybody's cup of tea, spoil everybody's cup of tea. Like, just be your own tea. You get me? And clock your own tea. I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense. I know for a fact I wanted to talk about this because a lot of the girls were saying that they love the podcast and they heard like different things that resonated with them, and sometimes it's not the men. Some people said that the stigma is ending, which is beautiful if you think that or you're living in that world, because that's where ultimately we want to go. But I just want to say for the woman out there that's scared to take a chance on themselves, there's room for you. There's room for your friend. There's room for your sister. There's room for your cousin, your mommy. Like, if you get what I'm saying, like, we should not be shutting out women. And the moment you believe that fully, is the moment that the conversation of woman versus woman stops being the story. When you become aware of what you're doing, you make a choice. That's how change becomes active. Like, you don't just change because you have a conversation about it. You change because you're doing things. You're choosing to do the right things. When community becomes more powerful than competition, we can have healthy competition. Everybody wants to become the best at what they're doing. And if you have people in your field, in your sport, in your discipline that are doing the same thing as you, yes, we all want to be the best. But you don't need to be a bitter person to reach to your success. Right? And expansion over comparison. I want you guys to remember that we can get bigger without nitpicking and pointing fingers. Because the truth is, like, at the end of the day, like, who wants to be that, like, bitter, you know? And I just encourage you guys for this podcast episode. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the Sports Girlie Diary that's linked to the podcast. And what you guys can do is send in your stories. And then probably we'll have one day in a month where we'll just talk about the stories, give our opinions or tips. Send in your stories, right? Based on whichever episode that you enjoyed. Guys, just a quick reminder. Remember, the Sports Girlie Tour is still going on. Our next visit is at Crystal House on Monday the 26th. I believe, yes, Monday 26th of January 2026. As well as, what else is going on? I think, yeah, that's what's actively going on. And if you guys want to give back anything to our tour, because we'll be going over into the West, because we're in a marathon, not a sprint, you guys can always contact us at the.sportsgirlie on IG, and we can arrange some pickups. That was the Sports Girlie podcast. If this conversation spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, subscribe, and leave a review. Follow us on all platforms at The Sports Girlie for more conversations that go beyond the game. Until next time, stay confident, stay evolving, and always own your game.